Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Alex here. We have a special video today. Have you ever wondered why in the US are so many nurses from the Philippines? There is a reason for that, and a big one. I hope you're gonna stick here with me to understand why. Well, if I have to say mine, it's because Filipinos are amazing, intelligent, super intelligent. They have something that few people have called empathy, and they know their deal. Well, I could add like another 25 or 30 things to this, but I'm gonna leave the video talk, and I hope you enjoy it. If it's your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back, and subscribe, of course. And maybe you are a nurse out there that it's watching right now, and you can share a lot more information down below. If this video is gonna be right, you guys send me this video on Patreon. The link you can find it down below if you want to watch the original video. And yeah, I know how it is. My brother is a nurse, so I understand. You know, he's working in the hospital. I understand. He told me, by the way, hello, Floki. He told me how it was in the COVID period. And anyways, you know, those hard things, you know, because when you see there, yeah, it's a nurse, whatever. No, it's a lot of work behind there. And I see it, you know, and it's really heavy. But anyways, enough talking. Let's see this one and what it's all about.
Right now, somewhere in the world, a hospital monitor is beeping. A patient lies awake under fluorescent lights. Footsteps move quickly through a midnight corridor, and the voice that finally says, "I'm here, you're going to be okay," very often carries an accent from an island nation over 10,000 kilometers away. The Philippines, a country of more than 115 million people across 7,600 islands that quietly became one of the most important lifelines of modern healthcare. Because decades ago, it made an extraordinary bet. If opportunity could not hold its people, it would prepare them to cross oceans. Today, over 10 million Filipinos live overseas. In the United States alone, nearly 1 in every 20 nurses is Filipino,
Wow.
with more than 150,000 serving across American hospitals. In Britain and the Gulf states, entire departments rely on their expertise. The scale is so vast, some health systems don't just welcome Filipino nurses, they plan around them. But this global presence raises a deeper question. What happens when a country becomes so essential to the health of other nations that the world begins to depend on its departures? In 2024, overseas Filipinos sent home over $38 billion, nearly 10% of the national economy, a migration engine powered by both ambition and sacrifice. So is this a modern success story, or a quiet transfer of care from one nation to another? Because the Philippines didn't just export workers, it exported care. Here, we see the patterns, we map the journeys, we uncover the forces shaping how humans move and belong. This is the Human Map. Subscribe and join us as we chart the stories
like I said,
connecting
it's
our
down
world.
below.
In the early 1970s, the Philippines made a decision that would quietly reshape global healthcare. Faced with rising unemployment and a fragile economy, the government embraced a radical strategy. If opportunity could not be created at home, workers would be prepared to succeed abroad. Labor export became policy. Nursing became the vehicle. Almost overnight, colleges expanded their nursing programs. Curriculums were redesigned around U.S. medical standards. English, already widely spoken, became a competitive weapon. Recruiters began appearing near campuses, offering pathways to hospitals thousands of miles away. Graduation was no longer an ending. It was a departure gate. In Cebu, a student named Elena studies anatomy under flickering fluorescent lights while her classmates whisper about contracts in New York and London. Her tuition is paid through pooled family savings, an investment everyone understands must yield a return. When she boards her first international flight years later, she is not leaving alone. She carries the economic hopes of an entire household. By the 1990s, the pattern had hardened into infrastructure. The Philippines wasn't just producing nurses, It was engineering one of the most mobile healthcare workforces on Earth. Today, more than 10 million Filipinos live overseas, and healthcare remains one of the country's most powerful exports. What started as an economic survival strategy became something far larger, a nation training its people not just to heal, but to heal the world. Walk into a hospital almost anywhere on the planet, New York, London, Riyadh, Toronto, and listen closely. There is a strong chance the voice guiding a patient through the night carries a Filipino accent. Filipino nurses have become the quiet backbone of global healthcare. In the United States alone, roughly 1 in 20 registered nurses is Filipino, making them the largest foreign-trained nursing group in the country. Over 150,000 Filipino nurses are estimated to be working across America. In the UK, they consistently rank among the top international recruits to the NHS. Across the Gulf states, Filipino medical workers staff entire hospital wings. The scale is so vast that some health systems plan their staffing pipelines around Manila. Consider Daniel, a newly licensed nurse stepping into a hospital in Chicago during a brutal winter shift. Half his unit speaks Tagalog during breaks. The charge nurse trained in Quezon City. The ICU down the hall is anchored by 2 nurses who arrived within months of each other from Davao. This is not coincidence. It is network migration, cousins recommending cousins, classmates following classmates, hospitals repeatedly recruiting from the same schools because the formula works.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt much, but I have to say something the way I think it, the way I see it. I'm not agree with this video when it's like talking about like Philippines being like a factory of nurses. Because it's not like that. I mean, look, want to be a nurse, it's not just, okay, I want to pick a job. You have to have it in you because you're going to see people suffer. You're going to see people die. You're going to see or you're going to have to bring bad news as well. So you have to have something which is like a mixture of empathy, strength, together combined, but outside you can like, you have to not be destroyed in front of a patient who's suffering or who's not going to make it, or in front of his family, and at the same time being able to reassure. So to have all that is not easy. So it's not that you just want to be a nurse and that's it. This job, it should be respected more. And in the Philippines, that not only that there are so many, like we saw, but there are so many because they are so intelligent, but they have something that a lot of other people don't. So I just want to mention that for in the way I think it. Maybe you out there, see it in a different way. But we should have more respect because it's not just a job. Have you ever been in the hospital and seeing that nurse came next to you and how much it means to the patient, a word of comfort, and it's sometimes you say, yeah, okay, maybe it's going to be easy having a word of comfort. Well, it's not, because maybe you had a long shift, maybe you have your own problems, and day after day everything just gathers and gathers inside of you, and it's not easy, but they do it, and they should be respected a lot. And in the Philippines, man, I mean, wow.
Filipino nurses developed a global reputation for clinical skill, emotional intelligence, and resilience under pressure, traits forged in overcrowded training hospitals back home. But behind this success lies a quieter truth. Every nurse who stabilizes a patient overseas is one less nurse at the bedside in Manila. The world gained caregivers.
Yeah.
The Philippines exported them.
And my wonder is if what happens to the hospital in the Philippines now?
Every departure at Manila's Ninoy Aquino International Airport follows a familiar script. Tears at the security gate, phones raised for last photos, a promise repeated softly, "I'll be back soon." But in many cases, soon becomes years. Because behind the emotional cost lies an economic engine powerful enough to shape an entire nation. In 2024 alone, overseas Filipinos sent home more than $38 billion in remittances, nearly 10% of the country's GDP. Entire neighborhoods rise on money wired from hospital shifts abroad. Tuition is paid. Homes are rebuilt in concrete. Small businesses open. Migration is no longer just a personal decision. It is macroeconomic strategy. In a small town outside Iloilo, Maria finishes a double shift at a hospital in London, while her salary quietly funds 3 lives back home: her parents' medications, her brother's engineering degree, and the construction of a 2-story house that has become a visible symbol of departure-driven success. Locals even have a name for these homes: nurse houses.
Wow.
But this prosperity creates a paradox. The Philippines invests heavily in training healthcare professionals, only to see them strengthen foreign systems.
What happens now in the
Hospitals
Philippines?
in wealthier nations stabilize their staffing shortages, while some Philippine public hospitals struggle with dangerously thin nurse-to-patient ratios. It is a silent transfer of care capacity from one country to another, a pipeline where compassion becomes currency. For millions of families, the sacrifice is rational. One nurse abroad can earn 5 to 10 times the domestic salary.
Wow.
The goodbye hurts, but the remittance heals. Then came 2020. When COVID-19 swept across the globe, hospitals transformed into war zones, and Filipino nurses were everywhere on the front lines. In the United States, reports suggested Filipino healthcare workers suffered disproportionately high death rates during the early waves of the pandemic, despite representing a smaller share of the total workforce. Many worked in high-risk units. Many volunteered for overtime. Many stayed when others stepped back. In New Jersey, a veteran ICU nurse named Roberto isolates himself in a spare apartment for months, terrified of infecting his children. He FaceTimes them between shifts, still wearing the imprint of an N95 mask across his face. Across London, Riyadh, and Los Angeles, similar stories unfold. The world applauds healthcare heroes from balconies. But back in the Philippines, a different crisis emerges. With thousands of nurses leaving each year, some estimates suggested over 15,000 annually before the pandemic, local hospitals begin sounding alarms. Staffing gaps widen. Rural clinics struggle to remain operational. At one point, the Philippine government briefly considered deployment caps to slow the outflow, worried the country might train itself into a healthcare shortage. The pandemic revealed an uncomfortable truth. Global healthcare had grown structurally dependent on Filipino labor. Not temporarily, systemically. The Philippines was no longer just participating in international medicine. It was quietly sustaining it.
Yeah, so
Walk into a hospital almost anywhere in the developed world, New York, Toronto, London, Dubai, and you may notice something subtle. a familiar warmth, a certain patience in the voice explaining a diagnosis, a nurse who remembers your name even during a chaotic shift. Very often, that caregiver is Filipino. What began as labor migration has evolved into something far larger, a global care architecture quietly supported by one nation. Second-generation Filipino nurses are now rising into leadership roles: charge nurses, hospital administrators, clinical educators. Some are shaping policy. Others are redesigning patient care models. The diaspora is no longer just filling shortages, it is influencing how modern healthcare operates. Yet identity remains layered. Take Daniel Santos, raised in California after his mother emigrated in the early 2000s. He speaks flawless English, coaches youth basketball, and considers himself fully American. But every Sunday, he cooks adobo with his family and sends money to cousins he has never met. He belongs to two worlds and bridges both effortlessly. This dual presence is the quiet strength of the Filipino diaspora. Integration without disappearance. Adaptation without erasure. But beneath the success lies an unresolved question. What happens when a country becomes so good at exporting care that the world begins to rely on it? Because today, global hospitals don't just hire Filipino nurses. In many ways, they are structured around them. The Philippines didn't just export workers, it exported care. From Manila to Manhattan, Filipino nurses have become the quiet backbone of modern healthcare, keeping hospitals running while supporting millions of families back home. But the question remains, when a nation sends its healers abroad, who heals the nation?
This is the big
This
question.
is the human map. Subscribe for more deep dive stories
That's
on my...
that's the big question. Who heals the Philippines? So, first of all, I want to say, anyways, when I stopped there, I already said what I think about it. And now my biggest question is, what happens to the hospital in the Philippines? I mean, it's not somebody wants to leave their home. You want to stay with your family. You want to stay with your kids, of course. But if I have to stay in a place where I cannot provide to my family, even if I work night shifts in a row and I'm tired and I'm destroyed, whatever, and I can't, of course you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do the sacrifice of being abroad 5 years or whatever it is, but I can do something for my family. But at the same time, what happens to the Philippines? And the Philippines deserve more because it's an amazing country and a beautiful place to live with beautiful people. And it should be done something about this. And you guys out there, if you know a nurse, just think about it right now and just give them a message. Tell them you appreciate them. Because I do. I'm going to send to every single one of you out there who are a nurse, who are working shift maybe right now, watching from the hospital, who knows. Really, you have my respect because it's something outstanding what you're doing. You know, your job, it's something just outstanding. And thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm really curious in this video about what you think, you know, how is the system in the Philippines if you have ever been in the hospital, and how is, as a Filipino working abroad in the American system, how do you feel? What do you think it should be done or changed? I'm really, really curious because this is a sensitive topic and we're going to have it more on the channel. Anyways, thank you for being here, guys. I hope you subscribe, share it for more people to know about the Philippines and how intelligent and amazing they are. And like I always say, until next time, stay safe.